I'm excited to be here with you today to talk about another topic. And I'm going to pick a different topic for each one of these webinars. And the topic I'm going to talk about today is mindset, and particularly having a growth mindset. Now, we know that there are two types of mindsets in the world. We have what some people have is a growth mindset. Other people, however, have a stuck mindset. And so now what we've got is we've got this challenge in our life that we have to deal with. Am I going to respond to the incidents, the situations, the circumstances of my life in a stuck way, or am I going to use whatever happens in the material world to fuel my resolve to continue going after that which I desire to go after? So when it comes to having a stuck mindset, we find that people are trapped. They're held back. They've caused themselves to go into some sort of, you could say, internal personal hell within. There was a woman I met one time and she said to me, Josh, I believe that we're in hell. And I said, explain that to me. She says, well, I don't believe that hell is a condition we go into after death, but it's a condition that we're into because of our mind and the way that we think about life. So she says, in my experience, I believe that I'm in hell. And I found that very interesting because my experience of life has and is very different. Not saying I haven't gone through tough experiences, because I have. However, I've always maintained this growth mindset. I've always felt that there's something beyond, that if I continue, that if I'm consistent, like I talked about in my last episode, that if I continue just putting one foot in front of the other, that I will eventually make it. And so that's been my ideal behind the way that I think, is that we've got this expansive growth potential. We've got this divine potential within, and therefore there are no limits to the potential of what our mind can do and the potential of what we can create in life. So that's a way that I think about it, is think of yourself as having unlimited potential, and that all you need to do is put your focus and your mindset into something and then produce the result. If that result doesn't come straight away, just keep going until. There is no reason to stop or even slow down. Well, sometimes we slow down to rest, but then we regather ourselves and we continue on that journey of growth. So you want to get away from this stuck mindset, feeling trapped, feeling like there's no hope or no way out. I was having a conversation earlier with a client, and as I was speaking to her about mindset, this idea, I talked about a couple of religious philosophies. One of them is hell, which I've mentioned so far. And hell, I believe, is not so much a condition of environment as it is an internal state of mind and emotion. So when you think about it, we create our own hell. Now, this could be during our sojourn in life or during the afterlife, depending on what your spiritual beliefs are. The idea or the concept is you create your own hell. Is that hell is part to do with your thoughts and your thinking. It's not just an external condition that you may find yourself in. However, it's an internal thing. It's knowing you could have done better, perhaps, knowing that you could have resolved more problems, knowing that you could have overcome more challenges, knowing that you gave in and gave up when you could have persisted. So that, to me, creates what I think is a personal or an internal hell. Now, there may also be an external hell, but I'm just using this as an idea and something for you to think about as we continue along this journey of growth or towards a growth mindset. So there's a personal hell, a hell within, a hell which is considered by me a way that you think and feel about yourself. It's a way that you respond to the circumstances of your life. Now, the second concept is one of being damned. Now, this is a concept that's spoken of in the Good Book, which we'll refer to as the Good Book. And in this book, it talks about being damned or damned souls. And I want you to think about a dam as being a body of water that's now trapped. It's now stuck. It's now contained within a dam. Now, that dam may have gates, and when those gates are open, the floodwaters come out, and away we go. The river flows normally. So what we've got is this damnedness about our life, in that we can be stuck. And if you're in a stuck mindset, then you are, for all intents and purposes, damned, meaning that you're trapped, you're stuck. The water doesn't run freely from your life, and it's contained. And in the same way that a dam needs to open in order to let that water flow, you and I need to be open to change and possibility if our life is going to flow, if our life is going to work at a high level. And so I just wanted to bring those two concepts in, the concept of hell and the concept of damned, and whether you're, believe in God, the universe, your higher self, whatever your spiritual beliefs are, just take those concepts and just have a think about those and what they mean, the implications for you, for your life, and for the world. So what we want to do is get away from being contained, away from being stuck, feeling as though we're trapped and creating this internal hell within, being damned. And what we want to do instead is move towards a growth mindset. Now, what is a growth mindset? A growth mindset is that every opportunity and every decision made can produce positive results. Now, sometimes we do things and we get negative results. We get negative feedback. Something isn't working. It's not right. Now, well, that could be that we've got a poor strategy, or it could be that we need to persist with that behavior. Now, sometimes the world will test us. I know this. The world tests us to see if we're going to carry on when times get tough, to see if we're going to rise up to the challenge. It almost comes back to the hero's journey, where the hero needs to go and embark upon this adventure. And as the hero takes off, the hero isn't a hero at the beginning of the story. It's the decision by decision play and the actions that the hero takes that turns that person, that ordinary person, into a hero at the end of the story. And so each person goes through a hero's journey. And when we think of a hero's journey, there's actually two outcomes. The first outcome of the hero's journey is the result that they're after. There's some cause that they're fighting for. There's some big moral dilemma that's going on that they're faced with, and they want to get that resolved. And so that's the first part of becoming that hero, is to resolve that issue, that conflict, that challenge, is to achieve victory. But there's a second part that's just as important, and that is the hero or the heroine becoming the hero. It's the journey of becoming great. It's the journey of unlocking our incredibleness, our greatness from within. It's the journey of becoming more than you are. And that journey doesn't happen easily. That journey doesn't happen lightly. That journey happens with forward momentum, trajectory, focus, effort, and making sure that you've got a good strategy, a good state of mind and emotion, and that you're telling yourself the right story in order to achieve that. And so the two parts of this, one part is the outcome. You get the outcome of the adventure you've gone on. You get the reward. The reward could be a monetary reward. The reward could be a status reward. It could bring you fame, fortune, whatever the case may be. So you've got the reward. That's the first outcome. The second outcome is the internal shifts that happen to produce the character that you want into the future. You become a different person. You become more assertive, more powerful. You become more loving, more kind, more generous. There's a change that happens internally at the same time that reward comes. And so those are the two outcomes from every journey we go on. Now, sometimes people get worried because they're not getting the first outcome. Maybe the wealth or the fortune they were after isn't coming. It's not there. It hasn't happened yet. Well, don't give up. Be persistent, like I said last time in last episode, but also don't quit. Don't give up. Ensure that you continuing on. realizing that there's not only one outcome here, there's two outcomes. And if the major outcome that you've gotten from this adventure that you've gone on, this hero's journey that you've undertaken, is the internal shifts that has changed the character of who you are here, now, and forever, then that's all been worth it. Sometimes I've gotten to a situation where I've thought, is it all worth it? The amount of work, the amount of effort I'm doing. I feel like at some time, and I remember thinking back into my past where I was earning about $3 an hour in my coaching business. And I'm looking at this thinking to myself, is it really worth it? Is it worth doing all of the work that I'm doing? I'm waking up and doing a 2-hour morning routine. I'm getting my mind and my emotions prepared so that I can coach people at the highest level. And I'm doing all this internal work, and then at the end of it, I didn't feel like I was getting the results that I really desired. I'm running meetings, and to date I've run hundreds of meetings, hundreds of webinars and seminars on coaching concepts and ideas. And in doing that, if I was to get paid even several $100s for each of those, I'd be a wealthy man right now. The truth is that I didn't. Oftentimes, the words that I said, the concepts that I projected onto my audience fell on deaf ears, and people didn't take action and people didn't respond. And perhaps that was part to do with my delivery and part to do with the person not being ready or not being financially capable or whatever the case may be. All I know is that I felt like a failure. And yet I remember this idea that when you fail forward. Don't fail backwards. Don't stop. Don't slacken your strength. Don't give up. Persist. That's how winning's done. That's where true victory occurs. And the true victory, like I said, isn't in the external rewards, but it's on who you become. And so I realized that by teaching so many seminars, webinars, by talking to people consistently over and over again, by running these courses, I've developed skills that I would not ever have developed had I not started on this journey. And so I realize that there really is two victories. And what are the two victories? There's the external rewards and there's the internal change. And even when I feel like at times the external rewards don't match my output, I look back and think about the internal rewards of who I've become in the process. And I want you to know that it's all worth it. It's all worth it. Every bit of my journey is worth it. The internal shifts, the internal changes. The way that I'm now living my life is so different. There's so much less stress in my life. There's so much less trauma that I've got to deal with day in, day out. I don't have bosses riding me like I once did. I don't have the stress of the work and the employment that I once did. And I'm living a far more simple but harmonious life. And whilst my income at this moment may not be as great as what I could produce in the other arena, what I realize is the internal changes that have occurred inside me. They're priceless. You can't put a price on that. You can't look back and think, it's not worth it because I didn't get the reward. What's worth it is the character of the person you've become. And so the person I've become on this journey, I'm really proud of what I've done, what I've accomplished, what I've been able to achieve. And it's given me the opportunity, and right now I'm working towards my black belt in karate, which requires that I do lots with my physical body. And so if I was working 17, 18 hours a day, there's no way that I could invest the amount of time into looking after my body, my health, my nutrition, making sure that I exercise several hours a day, preparing for a grading that's going to be difficult. It's going to be grueling. It's going to be could possibly be the hardest physical challenge that I've ever undertaken to get my black belt in a style of karate called Kyokushin. Now, Kyokushin is known as the strongest karate. And so in that competition or in that grading, I will need to fight 40 fights. Each fight goes for a minute and a half each. That's an hour long of just sparring and fighting. And because the sparring is full contact, you actually take hits all throughout. It'll be bare knuckle. There'll be nothing protecting the shins. We'll be kicking, we'll be striking, and we'll be doing so in a manner that, encompasses whatever full contact is. So I know it's going to be a grueling day. It could be 5 to 6 hours long. It'll be a long day. It'll be one that I need to focus on. And I'm so grateful that I'm in a position now where I've been able to back off on the amount of work that I do, particularly my 9 to 5. And I was able to transition away from my full-time 9 to 5 work into part-time work and then move into coaching. So I tell people now that I once was a full-time police officer, part-time coach. Now I'm a full-time coach and part-time police officer. I still do 5 shifts every 28 days. And so I've still got a foot in the door and I still have that regular income coming in. And at the same time, it gives me the flexibility to run a coaching business as well. And so I'm really delighted at this journey. I love this idea or this concept of coaching because mindset and having a growth mindset really does change the trajectory of your life. And so I'd encourage all of you to adopt a growth mindset. And what is a growth mindset? Learn. Learn all you can. Like myself, I attended seminars, webinars. I took on life coaching as a recipient. I got myself a life coach, life and results coach. At the moment, I have 2 different coaches, and both of them I utilize tremendously to help me get more of what I want. And so I really recommend this idea of getting mentors, coaches, getting people to help you to uncover what may be holding you back, to release any trapped or repressed emotions from your system and get rid of any values conflicts so that you can more harmoniously move towards the life and lifestyle that you desire. So I just wanted to share that with you to let you know that your commitment to yourself should be to discover who you really are. Unlock your incredible self and unleash that on the world. And the best way that you can unlock yourself and the best thing for you to do is ensure that you're open and have a growth mindset. You're open to possibility, open to growth, open to change, and that you know and believe that it's possible. It's possible for you to change the way that you live your life, to produce more of what you want, to create an expansion of those things that you enjoy, love, and want more of, and to reduce those things that you want to diminish or get rid of. I know that you can change. Heck, I've changed, and I know that it's possible for all of us to continue onwards and upwards if we maintain a growth mindset. So I'd encourage you right now, have a growth mindset. Ensure that you're going to be open to change, to growth, to progress. This is your way forward.